See, the thing that I love about Oreos is that on the outside, they're different, right? It's two delicious chocolate cookies. And then on the inside, you've got something else. It's this vanilla cream that I absolutely love. This episode of The Mandalorian was kind of like an Oreo in that on the outside, it's two bits of something different, like a chocolate cookie. But instead of having a yummy cream in the middle to enjoy, it was f***ing toothpaste. Hey y'all, Snarky J Cosplay here. Episode 3 of Season 3 of The Mandalorian is officially streaming on Disney Plus today, and I gotta tell you, this is literally one of the worst f***ing pieces of Star Wars content I have ever sat through. And this is coming from somebody who watched the entirety of the Book of Boba Fett and had to watch it in detail to be able to review and recap it. I also watched Kenobi. I've seen all that shit, and this was still garbage. I really don't think this episode is worth that much time. It's actually the longest of the season so far, and it was literally the biggest waste of my time. I can't believe I rolled out of bed for this. To really get into the non-spoiler part of my review, I'll give you guys my rating, which is a solid 2 out of 10. Die-hard Disney Star Wars fans will inevitably come into my comment sections to attack me for saying that I'm expecting non-stop action, that I can't handle the slow parts, even though I really loved Andor, and when something is well written and worth watching, I love slowness and I love drama. But this isn't it. It's an episode of The Mandalorian in which the Mandalorian is only present for about 15 minutes. It's the longest episode of the season so far, and yet very little happens, and it takes entirely too much time to tell a story that could have been told to us in about 15 minutes. It plays out like the workplace drama you never wanted, with stiff characters, uncomfortable scripts, and basically little to no intrigue. While I will admit that this episode is clearly trying to establish plot points that will come further on, I think that it was entirely too self-indulgent and poorly accomplished in telling this story and setting up these plot points. I definitely feel that over 25 to 30 minutes could have been cut out of this episode and used for something else. That's all I can really tell you without giving too much away, so with that being said, let's get into it. From this point on, there will be spoilers for episode 3 of season 3 of The Mandalorian. You've been warned. This episode picks up literally right where we left off in the last one. Bo-Katan and Din Djarin are sitting by the living waters, and he's coughing as he starts to come to. Bo-Katan tries to figure out if Din actually saw what she thinks she saw, which we all know is most likely a mythosaur, but he actually didn't see anything. All he really does at this point is pick up a vial of the living waters, and now it's time to go back to the Mandos. They leave the mines of Mandalore to head to Bo-Katan's ship, but as they are on their way back to Kalevala, they're actually attacked by some TIE interceptors. This is our first Easter egg, and it's honestly the only one that I think really holds any value here. The TIE interceptors that we see in this episode are actually the same design that can be referenced back to Grand Admiral Thrawn. So it's entirely possible that Grand Admiral Thrawn, or former Grand Admiral Thrawn, I guess, actually sent these TIE interceptors after Bo-Katan. It's also really likely that the appearance of these TIE interceptors could in fact tie into, see what I did there?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
The upcoming series, Ahsoka. This is an admittedly cool sequence, and I love to see the teamwork between Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. Bo-Katan actually pilots her ship all the way back to Kalevala so that Din can get to his N1, and when they return, the two embark on this big chase through the cliffs of Kalevala, and they manage to take out the TIE interceptors. In true Star Wars fashion, just as everything seems to be clear, some more interceptors show up, and they actually bomb and destroy Castle Kryze, which I definitely would have been pissed off, because if I owned a fucking castle and you come and bomb it, you best believe it's on site. But an entire swarm of them shows up, so she and Din actually have to escape into hyperspace, and that's actually the last time we see them for the next 35 minutes. So if you're not planning on watching this episode, please keep in mind that I am keeping this short. And now I'm gonna tell you what we spend the next 35 minutes doing, which to me was about as exciting as sitting down and filing fucking taxes. After seeing the title card for chapter 19, which is the convert, you can already assume where that's going. We see an establishing shot of Coruscant. Now this is sort of exciting because this is actually the first time we really get to experience and sort of live with Coruscant in the New Republic era. We are reintroduced to Dr. Pershing. He might seem super irrelevant because he was until the plot called for him again. I totally do not think anybody at Disney is running out of ideas for this show. Anyways, Dr. Pershing is the doctor that was experimenting on poor baby Grogu in season 1, and we actually saw him get arrested on Moff Gideon's ship at the end of season 2. He is now back and is part of an amnesty program being developed by the New Republic for people that were former employees of the Empire, if you could call them employees. We get basically his whole deal in the midst of this TED Talk looking thing that he's doing. Basically, he's been all about cloning since the death of his mother, and he's actually used these studies by the Kaminoans, you know, the guys who made Boba Fett before he was ruined, in order to figure out better ways of cloning, like organ cloning, which could have saved his poor departed mom when he was a kid. After this, we get some of the worst written and performed dialogue I've ever seen in Star Wars. He starts talking to some Coruscant residents who literally are your standard, like, rich asshole type characters, and to me, it all feels like it was written and performed by high school students. I was there not that long ago. It's that fucking bad. You think the episode might pick up and you're kind of waiting for that, but instead we get this long drawn out sequence of him on a space taxi. He makes it back home. He walks through the courtyard. He's invited for a drink by some other officers. They start talking about their favorite cookies, and the only fucking important thing that happens here is that he encounters a former officer who is now called G68. G68's real name is Elia Kane, and we saw her on Moff Gideon's ship, which means that she's not exactly a small-time catch for the New Republic when it comes to this amnesty program. This is all, of course, scintillating stuff and totally not predictable at all. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this short because I already wasted the 35 minutes watching this bullshit, and I want to make it quick enough for you. So basically, after a series of different conversations where Dr. Pershing seems like he really wants to continue his cloning research, which is considered unethical under the New Republic, Elia Kane, or Officer G68, convinces him otherwise. They go to what's basically a junkyard and they break into an Imperial ship in order to steal a mobile lab station because Dr. Pershing has been convinced that, hey, the New Republic just doesn't know what's good for them, and this cloning stuff is definitely gonna be a good move. As Officer G68 / Elia Kane and Dr. Pershing are running out of the ship to get back to Coruscant, they are stopped by New Republic officers. Elia Kane actually just walks right up to them with the mobile lab station in hand, and Dr. Pershing is arrested and knocked out. When he wakes, he's kind of in this sterile looking room being looked over by a Mon Calamari. We come to find out that, oh my god, what a big surprise, the space Nazi is still a huge piece of shit. She has basically used Dr. Pershing and trapped him and lied to the New Republic about what exactly they were doing. She is all clear in this room watching as he's hooked up to what is a mind flayer. Of course, this was referenced in the previous 2 seasons of The Mandalorian as what seems to be kind of like a lobotomy type machine. He's told by this Mon Calamari doctor that it's not a mind flayer anymore, technically. If they use it at a low enough voltage, it's sort of soothing and helps deal with traumatic memories. Dr. Pershing is now panicking and he tells the Mon Calamari it's a trap. Of course, this little Easter egg is a beautiful reference to "It's a trap!" Now, of course, as Dr. Pershing is experiencing a low rate of voltage, Elia Kane is watching from behind glass, and real funny, she actually turns the voltage like all the way up and presumably kills Dr. Pershing. So after all this, Bo-Katan and Din Djarin make it back to that Mandalorian covert on that planet we saw in chapter 17. They're interrupted by none other than Paz Vizsla. Of course, somehow Paz Vizsla and Bo-Katan don't really have much of an interaction here, which is weird because in one of the other episodes, the armorer literally said that Bo-Katan is a cautionary tale. I don't know how we're all just forgetting these things or like moving on without discussing them, but that's Disney Star Wars for you. We get another Easter egg here though. When Paz Vizsla meets Bo-Katan, he calls her Night Owl. Of course, Bo-Katan was a former leader of the Night Owls, which was an elite squadron of female Mandos that were part of the Death Watch. But you know, she doesn't know anything about being in a cult anymore. Anyway, Mando pulls out his little vial of living water, and when he encounters the armorer, she is able to prove in fact that these were the living waters, and Din Djarin is redeemed. However, because Bo-Katan says that she had to go into the chasm to rescue him from the living waters, and she hasn't removed her helmet since. She is also now redeemed. So the armorer basically invites her into the covert, and we get like this weird sequence that to me had the same energy as when you're sitting in a restaurant and people are singing happy birthday and you don't know what to do with your hands. That's kind of what it looked like. But basically Din Djarin and Bo-Katan are now part of the covert again, and the episode ends there. So they spent all this time just to show you that this woman is still working for Moff Gideon, who most likely escaped, and Din Djarin and Bo-Katan have been redeemed and are now part of the Mandalorians again. It felt like a workspace drama and not Star Wars, and I will not forgive them for this episode. Here's hoping the rest of the season doesn't pan out any worse than this, but honestly, I am losing faith every week. And that's all from me. I've been Snarky J. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on episode 3 of season 3 of The Mandalorian in the comments below.